Okay, so a lot of us are working out from home now. And even though we're working out from home, that doesn't mean that without a barbell or without adequate dumbbells or kettlebells or things like that, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have an ideal workout. So first things first, you have your body weight. You can use that in a variety of different ways, which I'll be showing you in the programming that you're going to be getting. The other thing that you might want to do just to kind of prep your home gym a little bit more, you can purchase a set of bands. I do love these types of bands. They're called super bands because they're just one big circle. This is a skinnier one. They usually come in sets of 3. So I actually bought this set here. With the thicker that they get here, the more intense it is, or the heavier the band or the heavier the weight is. You can also use TheraBands. I know a few of you guys have already gone through PT and things like that for various injuries. TheraBands are perfectly usable. Like for example, I could even do bicep curls with this. I'm just going to change my angle and change my distance from it. So that's definitely possible, and it's even better if you can untie it. The other thing you can get is a hip band. Again, not necessary. With a hip band, you can also still use this thin band, and all you have to do is triple roll it here, and you can have pretty much the same tension that you would get with a hip band. So that's something that you can get. So I would suggest, first things first, a set of bands. 2 to 3 would be great, and they're still available. The only downside with other equipment is it's not going to be available because everybody went crazy and bought a lot of gym equipment. Now, the other thing you can use instead of bands, you can use a towel. And what you're going to see, and I'm just using bicep curls as like an example because it's a movement that everyone's familiar with. So you can step on the towel and you have your hand holding the towel on each end, okay? From here, you can do a static hold. So I'm squeezing my biceps and I'm doing a nice isometric hold, okay? So that's something you can do. You can do the same thing with a row. Loop it around something, like a tree, a banister, a pole outside or inside of your house, and you're going to go ahead and row in, right? So you can row in and then do an isometric hold like this. There's a ton of different ways you can do a lot of the movements that I'm going to have in the programming. Towels are great. Now, we all generally have a backpack, all right? Backpack or a bike bag. It all depends. With the backpack, basically load it up with books, cans, water bottles, whatever you want. Milo's going to help me. Milo's my little helper here. So I have quite a few of my textbooks here. Now you can also pad it with the towel, just so the books don't move around that much. And what's cool with the backpack is the backpack can actually be used for a lot of the same movements that I just showed you, all right? So rowing, all right? If you lighten the load, you can use it as the bicep curl movement, just as an example. Whatever you need. You can also hug it, because this is something you're going to need to use for goblet squats, which will be one of the first movements that we're going to have programmed. Just gonna have to find a happy position for you to actually be able to hold, for you to be able to hold the backpack, okay? So that's the backpack. Now, because every place is pretty much sold out of dumbbells, they are going to be hard to come by. I know York.com, their dumbbells will be available probably within the next couple weeks, by the end of May or mid-June, all right? So dumbbells are great options. You can, I know I've had a couple of clients have good success finding sets of dumbbells at even Dollar General lately, just because it's not normally where people go to buy fitness equipment. So dumbbells are great. If you don't have any dumbbells, you can actually make your own. So you can use water bottles. Now these are roughly about 16 ounces, right? 16 ounces of fluid is about a pound. So this is really light, super light. These will only be really useful unless you're like a beginner workout or a beginner at lifting weights or strength training and things like that. So don't even worry about that. I will say with the lighter weight, you can use it for a lot of the weaker muscle workouts that we're going to be doing or movements that we're going to be doing, especially like reverse flies, which have us work a lot of our rear shoulder muscles, which are really important to work, especially for a few of us who have various shoulder injuries that I've seen in some of your questionnaires that you've sent back already. Now, if you want to upgrade this, you can obviously drink the water that's in here. You can fill these with sand. Sand will be heavier. You're going to have to weigh it, but it should, with sand in here, should be about 3, maybe 5 pounds, which would be perfect. And you can buy a bag of sand at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, wherever, for maybe, I don't even know, I know it's definitely less than $10, but I want to say they're usually about $5 a bag. The other thing you can do is, we all have water bottles that we use on our bikes. So you can get a couple of these. All right, what I would recommend is that you only fill these water bottles with sand or rocks or anything like that, like landscaping rocks, just to make them heavier, only if you're not planning on using them, all right? If they're your backup bottles or something like that. The other thing you can do to protect the inside of these, you can put saran wrap on the inside. You can also put some Ziploc bags and then put the sand and the rocks inside the Ziploc bags and then put them in here. Totally up to you, but that is an idea. You can also do the same thing with Nalgene bottles. These are actually much easier to clean than these, so I would recommend doing that with these, all right? Let's see here. So we talked about dumbbells, water bottles. We've talked about the backpack. The other thing that we can fill up the backpack with is, of course, the water bottles. I think I mentioned that. So something else that is useful to have, sliders. These are actual fitness sliders made by Iron Core Fitness. They cost maybe $10 on Amazon. You can also use furniture sliders. So furniture sliders are great. You basically put these underneath your feet. You can have them on hardwood floor with the foam side down, or you can have them on carpet with the plastic side down. And the purpose of this is just to make your feet slide much more easily, because we're going to be doing things like hamstring curls, core work, some push-ups that are bringing your arm out, things like that. The other thing that you can use instead of sliders are the socks that are on your feet. So if you're doing hamstring curls, I'll go ahead and put in the instructions that just wear socks on a hard floor. It can be a hardwood floor, tile floor, anything like that, okay? So sliders are a great thing. Furniture sliders, they're even cheaper than fitness sliders. Again, these I think were $10 for the set, and I think furniture sliders cost anywhere from $3 to $5. Just depends. Just make sure you don't get the micro size sliders, because those are only really made for baby's feet, okay? Last but not least, there's a couple of things. You can come on over here. So one thing that I love, and I'm not going to be programming specifically, but it will be a great substitute for bands and weights and things like that, is a TRX. If you guys don't have a TRX, don't worry, you don't need it, but do know that if you do have one, have it on hand, have it dusted off and ready. Those things are great. It's basically a TRX or any type of suspension trainer is ideal. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about mobility. These are not required, of course, but these are just good things to have on hand. First things first, a foam roller. I like this particular foam roller. It's made by Trigger Point. You can find these at tptherapy.com. And it's basically a foam outside of a PVC pipe. I personally love this. You can also, these are about $20 to $40, okay? So these can be a little bit expensive, but think of it this way. I've had this particular foam roller for at least 5 years. It's going to last me at least another 10 more years unless I run over it with my car. So it's a great investment to have for a very low cost. Alternatively, if you don't have the funds to buy a foam roller, think about just going to the hardware store and buying a PVC pipe. We're talking like the thin PVC pipe. Just, if you have maybe a 4-foot section or even a 2-foot section, that's perfectly fine, because you can easily roll out your thighs, you're anywhere, your calves, shins, anything like that. So that's really handy. For $2 to $5, depending on where you go and you get these, lacrosse balls. Lacrosse balls are great. They don't really have much give. So alternatively, a tennis ball is also really good. Just know that a tennis ball is not really going to give you a ton of like massage quality versus a lacrosse ball. The other thing that you can use is a golf ball. Golf ball is just even smaller. It will be harder, so it will be a little bit not as friendly when it comes to self-massage. The other thing too is a yoga peanut. So these are two like yoga balls that are in a little sock. You can alternatively, instead of buying these, and these are softer by the way, I can definitely squeeze these a little bit. Alternatively, you can buy 2 lacrosse balls or 2 tennis balls and just throw them in a crew sock, and that works as well, all right? Kind of mimics the peanut. You can also get the cane if you want. Again, these are about maybe $10, $20 online. I love this because you can do a lot of trigger point stuff, and based on feedback I've already gotten, It seems like shoulders are definitely an issue and hips. So just something to think about, but you can pretty much do this yourself. So it's really great if you don't have anyone willing to give you a massage at home. Last but not least, I know I asked about this in the questionnaire, and it was about if you had a heart rate monitor. Just know this is not required, all right? Here's the thing with heart rate monitors. Sometimes we become too dependent upon them, and we use them as too much feedback. If you look in the training guide that I sent you, there is a scale in there. Get to know this scale. For the first couple of weeks, it's going to be very confusing, but it's called the RPE scale, the Rate of Perceived Exertion scale. This will give you a lot more feedback than this will. This is going to give you a great data point. Don't get me wrong, I use one myself, but just know that there are going to be some days that training's just not going to be optimal. You're going to be tired, you're going to be under a little bit more stress. Hormone cycle could be around the time that you're getting ready to start your period. It could be a variety of things, and that can all impact your performance on and off the bike. So try not to live by the numbers that the heart rate monitor gives you, okay? I'm not really going to be giving you a ton of zone work for heart rate. I'll be including it, but I will always be including heart rate zone work with RPE scale considerations, because I want you guys to get to know the RPE scale and get to know your body and get to know how it responds to things, how it responds to the training, how it responds on and off the bike. This is all important feedback as an athlete that you really need. And it's a lot more important than any of the power meter numbers that your power meter might give you on your bike if you have one, or anything like your cadence numbers. Just try to let go of some of these data points, because we really get too hung up on them, and then we allow them to get into our brain, think that we're not doing enough, and then we feel like crap about a training session that honestly went really well when all is said and done. So anyways, if you have any questions about things that I've outlined, let me know, but I will say the biggest thing to get, definitely the bands. Try to get the bands if you can. If you don't have bands, guess what? Just use the towel, all right? Have a nice old towel that you can use, and then get some water bottles, or try to find some dumbbells or something like that, but definitely build your water bottle dumbbell collection effectively with some sand or things like that, and that will get you in a really good place to get started. I'm so excited. Welcome aboard, guys.